as I was saying, we went through this typhoon and we survived, all of us survived, and we went into Okinawa in the latter part of July of '45, just before they dropped the bombs. And no one will ever convince me that Truman didn't do the right thing. I feel very sure right now that myself or any of the others would not be here if he hadn't dropped the bomb. Excuse me.
That's okay. They were so young.
But we were all in our, the whole crew, there was only 15 men aboard and one officer, 15 men and one officer, yeah, they're considered men too. And, but we were all very immortal. I almost said immoral, that's not true. But we, most of us had been through a service school. I was in a motor machinist mate school in Navy Pier in Chicago, and then we went down to amphibious training down in Virginia and Maryland, and then took a long train ride to Mare Island, California, and that's where we got on the Liberty ship to Pearl. But also, well, then in Okinawa, we were in the staging area where we were pick up our load of material or tanks or men, whatever, and we would have gone into the according to the book I have here that I got from the library, was in Honshu, which is the southern part of Japan, and that would have been the first invasion port. And we were, among many others, would have landed there. And like I say, I'm very thankful that Truman dropped the bomb. I was there in December of '45. Then I had enough points to come home, and I did. And I was discharged in Toledo on the 4th of January of '46. And then, what else do we want to know?
Well, that's pretty good.
That was yeah.
Basically, we're just kind of asking, what did you do day to day?
Okay, I was a motor machinist mate, and like I say, I had had my training in Navy Pier in Chicago, and the skipper assigned me as the leading motor machinist mate, which is for an 18-year-old was pretty heavy. I see now, where I didn't know a whole lot. I was the lead machinist mate on repair and maintenance and operation of the engines, the diesel engines, and also anything that was mechanical aboard. Now, we didn't have a whole lot aboard, a whole lot of machinery or parts, but like I say, for a 18-year-old, why, it was quite an assignment, and I enjoyed that, really. I really did. And we had the skipper, and then there's a gunner's mate, and a electrician, and a boatswain mate, and myself were the lost it. Were those who had rates, the rated people, and we had all had schools, and then we were on watch 4 hours on, 4 hours off, which most service are, and there was only 2 of us in the engine room that took care of the engines. A fellow by the name of Anderson over in Indianapolis, and I found him, he found me rather, through a website that my son-in-law put on the net for me, and then I found the skipper just a few months ago, and I had not seen him or heard from him in 55 years. And it was quite a pleasant surprise to contact him, or he contacted me, and then we have been on the in the email business for several months now. Really enjoyed it.
So did your duties change daily, or were you consistently just, head of the engines or whatever? Or did you have to kind of wear many hats during this tour?
Well, we helped one another. Certainly, when we were at general quarters, my station was in the engine room, and then when we weren't at general quarters and just normally at sea, my job primarily was on the throttles of the engines, and the skipper unfortunately didn't have much idea of how to handle men nor how to handle a ship, and he taught most of us, if that's teaching. Most of us could handle the ship better than he. There was 4 of us.
It's hardly going to need a new tape. I think the tape ran out.
Yeah. Figure out how to eject here.
You can't. You just open it. Yeah, that one doesn't have nothing to jiggy on it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. No problem.
Then we had 16 men aboard, and of course we lived in an area that was probably 6 feet wide and 18 feet long, and there was all of us slept in that area. Our bunks were 3 foot high. 3 tiered high, and of course when you're living that close with all these men, you know them very well, and I knew all the addresses. I had all the addresses. I wrote to them right after I got out of service, and I got answers from about 4 or 5. So we kept in contact, Christmas cards, this type of thing. And then the last few years I have attempted to contact them again, and I got very little response, although we do have I have a gunner's mate friend in Fort Pierce, Florida, and one of the seamen is in Florida. I met several down there, and we had quite a gab session about 3 or 4 years ago. It was a Remember When session. Remember When. We had a lot of fun. We only have one fellow that has died that we know of, and that was the electrician in Biloxi, Mississippi. And the skipper, I was talking to him. He's in good health, and we're wanting to get together somehow.
That would be great.
Yeah.
And would enjoy seeing him.
Okay.
Another question?
Basically, so you volunteered versus being drafted?
Yes, I volunteered. My brother Richard, who here in Waynesville was studying under Cap Stubbs in a funeral home, and he went in July of '41. So I knew that Mom would sign for me if I wanted to go in, and I was just a few days short of my 18th birthday. I was actually 17, and yeah, I was awful young. I didn't know what the situation was, but my father was also in World War I on minesweepers, and so there wasn't any question about what we were going to join. And I have 2 younger brothers that also went in the Navy.
That was kind of my next question. So you had siblings that were also in the,
Yes.
in the military,
Yes,
and
sure
all
did.
of you served in the Navy?
All of them in the Navy. All of us in the Navy. Yes.
So I'm assuming, being 17, you didn't have a wife and kids at home?
No, we did not. I didn't marry until I was quite ancient.
Quite ancient, huh?
Yes.
Ah, okay.
Well, your choice was very good at your ancient age.
Thank you.
We love your wife here at the library.
That's great. That's great.
Did you and your siblings ever serve together at all? Were you always at separate ships and separate times?
The only time when I knew, well, let's start over. My mother and my brother, older brother, and I had a little secret, what do I want to say, code, secret code as to where we were. Now we knew where each of us was at all times. I knew Dick was on Guam, and we were headed that way. So I asked the skipper if I could go and see him. Well, we got to Guam, and the other personnel off the other ships were getting to go ashore for a few hours. We weren't going to stay there long. I knew that. But the skipper changed his mind, and he wouldn't let me go. But at that time we had two officers. The executive officer overheard the conversation, and so he asked me if I would give him my brother's address, and I did. And he says, I'll see if I can't go find him. Well, sure enough, in about an hour, why, here come Mr. Donahue with Dick, and Dick stayed with us until about 6 o'clock that evening, and he had chow with us, and he had to go back to make roll call, and he went to Tinian the next day. So that was the only time that I got to see him. I hadn't seen him in 3 years, but it was quite a good visit. We enjoyed it. I enjoyed it very much.
Kind of finishing up, if you could name one thing positive that came out of your military experience, what would it be?
I grew up. Yeah, I was quite innocent, and 17 years old, you don't know a whole lot about life, and the service, the personnel, and certainly the experiences will let you grow up or make you grow up in a hurry. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm sure that I did that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if you could say that you had one negative experience or one negative that you brought out with you, what would that be? Or were there any?
I always said that if I had 2 lives to live, one would have been the Navy. But I only had one life, so I had to get out. I got out. But the positive was the experience that I had, because right after that, after I got out of service, I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I had 2 professions. One of them was education, the other was engineering, and it's right back it's on the hip pocket that you decide what you're going to do. And at that time, the teachers were making $1,800 a year, and the engineers were making $2,500 a year, and I didn't have a choice. I'm not a graduate engineer, but I was at the right place at the right time with the right expertise.
Mm-hmm. So you carried your mechanics training into civilian life?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yes. I was on the river for 5 years, towboating on the river, and that's another story.
Oh.
But I was on the river for 5 years, and that was extremely good experience, because it was much more complicated. The engineering on the towboats were much more complicated than what they were on our little ship. Our little ship was only 120 feet long, 30 feet wide, and it was the smallest craft in the Navy that had a crew. We had 2 20-millimeter guns, and we had a couple machine guns and some rifles and 45 pistols, and that was our armament. Like I say, we weren't intended. They didn't intend us to do any battling, so forth. But there was a lot of. There was
Did
probably.
Did you come under fire?
No, I didn't. No, we were at the tail end of the.
Typhoon was it? I was going to say that was quite a firestorm in itself.
Right. The typhoon was the only serious experience we had, very serious, and we didn't have any problems. We did lose one of the crew did lose a dog overboard. That's the only thing that we lost overboard, which was certainly good. But, let's see, what was that? Lost train of
I'm
thought.
sorry.
Did you name it? Did it have a name?
No, it wasn't our ship. It wasn't our dog. It was.
No, I mean your ship.
Oh,
Did you
yes.
name it?
Yes, we did.
If you've given it a name, I haven't heard it. I've missed
Okay.
it.
We named our ship. We named our ship. We named it the Little Angel,
Oh, I like
and
that.
that was because our skipper came from a wealthy family, and his sister's name was Angel, and she bought us a washing machine and all the sporting equipment we could ever use. And so we named it the Little Angel. And on the ready boxes on the ship, why we had Little Angel. And
That's neat.
on my cap, I don't know whether you've seen my cap or not, but I have the name. I should have brought it in, and it had Little Angel on it.
Oh, how terrific.
Yeah, it was the only ship that I know that we had a name.
Oh.
That we usually the airmen have nose art, they call it, on the nose of their planes, and I don't know why we didn't have other names, but we could have had other names for sure.
I'm sure.
But it was a very small, like I say, it was the smallest piece of equipment in the Navy that had a crew. We had 15 or 16 men aboard.
Okay. And basically, in closing, for history's sake, do you have any remarks that you would like to make? Anything that you would like to say for the sake of posterity about your time in service?
Well, if you can enjoy your service time, why I enjoyed my service time. I was not in combat. I was not in combat. It'll make a man out of you in a hurry. It'll mature you in a hurry, and it did me. And I appreciated the fact that I was able to go into the Navy. Yes.
That's good. Thank you, Joe. This was
Go ahead.
very nice.
This is the remnants of the ensign that we had aboard our ship during the typhoon. When we replaced it, why I asked to have it, and somebody says, well, "What do you want that thing for?" And I said, "Well, I'll just take that for posterity." And that is the remnants of our ensign. And then I have this one, came from Wakayama, Japan. Now I didn't requisition this. I didn't confiscate this, but obviously it was on a pole because it's got the tabs on the side. It was on a pole, and 55 years, I still don't know how I got it. Like I say, I'm sure I didn't confiscate it, but it's memorabilia too.
That's great.
Yeah.